In a strange way, these technologies have always been entwined with spirit. You know that famous quote by Arthur C. Clarke, any technology that you don't understand is perceived as magic. And so shamanism is an effort to manipulate the perceived forces of nature. Gnosticism was a fantasy or a myth about the nature of the human soul in relationship to the world that maps easily over our contemporary ability to do virtual realities. Probably the greatest boost occult thinking ever got in all its centuries of unfoldment was the discovery and elaboration of an understanding of electricity. You know, we forget how hard it would be. Imagine trying to think about magic and healing and sympathetic mojo and all these things if you completely lacked the concept of electricity, as the Renaissance did. The Renaissance knew nothing of electricity, and yet Marcello Ficino and the Florentine Platonists and all those people were able to produce magical systems. The 19th century is the great century of electromania, and it's also the great century of spiritualism. All forms of spiritualism became intellectually entertainable because people could see electricity, this mysterious hidden force that they were told was in everything. You know, they could trap it in bottles and carry it around and cause their hair to stand on end. At one point under the U.S. Capitol in the 1830s, they set up apparatus so congressmen could, quote unquote, take electricity, and people would go down into the basement of the Capitol, grab onto these electrodes, and say, "Wow, that's good stuff they're pushing." Ben Franklin was, a great experimentalist with electricity, and when he went to France to be inducted into the French Legion of Honor, he was asked to serve on a commission to study and report on mesmerism, and whether it was, and of course mesmerism used electrical metaphors very widely to convey its idea of what was happening. So, yeah, I think, magic has always striven for effects which technology has achieved. Marcillion talks about this in a book called Memories, Dreams, Reflections, a book of essays about how the alchemical dreams of the 16th century, which were a universal medicine, prolongation of life, hermetic statues that would speak and give all knowledge, communication at a distance. All of these things have been achieved in the 20th century through the application of a reductionist science. So it's almost as though the dreams of the occult are achievable, but only at the cost of abandoning the naive epistemology that lies behind it. So in a way, all magic is technology. That's what Clarke was saying. And on another level, all technology is magic. It's not for nothing that that huge special effects company called itself Industrial Light and Magic. It's an understanding that the mundane, the industrial, the capital-based can still be combined with the magical. My hope is that what these communication technologies will make more accessible to us and more corporeal, paradoxically, is our own imaginations. That we need to show each other the inside of our own heads and build art. I mean, my conviction of this comes from the fact that I know a lot about art. Probably you do too. I spend time with it, go to museums, think about it, so forth and so on. And I've taken lots of psychedelics. And there's more art in my head, Joe Ordinary, than there is in half the museums on this planet. Well, how then, it's what's maddening is how narrow the reduction valve is. You know, we've been making art for 5,000 years, and what have we got? We've got a few museums full of some nice stuff, but what have we got in our heads? 50,000 times more good stuff, but very hard to get out. And really hard to get out when you're carving it in diorite and granite and, but somehow this barrier between us and these realms of art, you don't even have to talk philosophy, you don't have to call it the Platonic realm of ideas or some higher empyrean, you just have to say beauty. There's a great deal of beauty on the other side of this tiny keyhole that we're looking through. And if technology gives us a way to open the door and all waltz through dancing, it seems to me that would be a spiritual renaissance. That what happens at a spiritual renaissance is, by some means, the collective soul becomes collectively known. Like in the Italian Renaissance, the invention of oil painting allowed great geniuses to portray the major themes moving in the archetypal unconscious of their patrons and the populations who viewed their paintings and themselves. And it's a shared epiphany. It's a spiritual quest. It's a group transformation, but it's driven by and led by the revelation of art. I hope I live to see the day. I mean, I don't care. I don't know about downloading consciousness into a machine. What I would be able to die happy with is a technology that could capture just a snapshot or a film clip of one's thoughts. So, you would rig up on DMT or psilocybin or something, and when you really got into the good stuff, you'd hit the record button and have it, and then you could come back down with it and model it and adumbrate it and move it around, edit it, explore, unpack certain parts of it. My God, the power of art that could be created that way. And again, it's ordinary people, I'm convinced. It's not, what genius is the ability to bring it back, not the ability to encounter it. Every single one of us can encounter it. And that's very telling. And almost an argument for our divinity, because here we are at the end of some long Darwinian evolution tree of winnowing so that all we have are what we need, and yet apparently one of the things we need is an ocean of alien beauty just right behind your eyebrows. It seems to me if that's something we must have in our toolkit, then someone with greater intelligence than us must know a lot more than we do about the journey we're making.